starts like this, and we need an I can statement. The I can statement is written right on your little green sheet that you just picked up. But for those of you that don't have that little green sheet out, you've already put it away in your journal. I will tell you what it says. That you need that one. Yep, just go grab it. Okay, so it says, I can identify. Yep, I can identify. Say, yeah, it's a quiz. I can identify and suggest an appropriate type just have a seat, ma'am, and I'll throw all this stuff at you in 2 hot seconds of statistical. Oh, you have your quiz, don't you? Did I take it from you?
Yes.
Do you know where I put it? Good God, neither do I. Neither do I. Gosh darn it. That's the problem with me letting people do stuff out of Undercare. Let's go through it over here. Is there a folder over here? Okay. We'll find it. I know we will. Okay, here you go. Caleb. Was your name already on it, Caleb?
Yes.
Caleb, you're so patient. You're like, yes. So ridiculous. All right, so when I took it from you, Caleb, I'm sure that I put it somewhere. Everybody look around and see if you can find Caleb's test. And Zach Coker brought a bunch of stuff over here.
What if Lamar took it?
No, he doesn't. So they all have their names on theirs. Whose is this? Probably Zach's stuff. Just threw on my floor with no name on it. Super professional. All right, Caleb, you know what? For the life of me, I don't know where it is. So you can wait 7 more minutes for me to find it, or you can just sit down and do notes with us and I'll find it. I mean, it's got to be somewhere. I just don't know where I put it. Yeah, I was. Go look. Anyway, I'm serious. I was. Oh, check that little white thing. That little white. There you go. Look at that. Yay. Thanks. There you go. Sorry about that. Okay. The screen is even frozen. Yeah, why didn't someone say, Miss Bishop, I can't see a stinking thing you're writing on there. Okay, here we go. Starting all over again. I can identify and suggest an appropriate type of, this is going on that little half sheet that's colored. Got it? This is your I can statement. You got it already? Perfect. Perfect. It is on the green sheet. I can identify and suggest an appropriate type of statistical study. Thank you. When determining an aspect of the population or of a population. Got it. For all the people at home that are listening, correct. Okay. Population represents the whole group. So let's talk about that, the whole group. So here's the parameter for that. When we talk about the whole group, the parameter is a feature of the population. Okay. When we talk about a sample, that's part of the whole population, and that is a statistic. That is a statistic, and it is a feature of the sample. a feature of the sample used to estimate the population. A parameter about the population, a parameter. For example, let's talk about this. What does this exactly mean? So let's say that I want to conduct a study on the number of people who stay up and watch late night shows. Okay. So I want to interview everyone in the state of North Carolina who stays up and watches any kind of late night show. However, is it feasible that I'm going to be able to interview everyone in the state of North Carolina? No, I'm not going to be able to. So what if instead I interview 2,000 people from each county, 2,000 people from each county in North Carolina from any age grade, any age range, okay? So the parameter is the number of people that stay up and watch late night shows. The statistic is going to be that I'm using a sample size of 2,000 people per county versus the total number of people per county. Does that make sense? Okay. It's like, that's just kind of how that works. We hardly ever use the entire population because it's virtually almost impossible to get everyone to comply to some kind of survey or statistic or some kind of observational study or experiment. So here we go. Let's talk about a survey. So a survey is when we ask a list of questions that are answered by participants in a study. So a survey could be a list of questions. List of questions. Are you filling this out with me, Jack? List of questions answered by people in your study. Okay. It's most often used to find information that cannot be easily observed. So it's most often used to find information that cannot be easily observed. Again, like the number of people that stay up and watch late night shows. The only way that you could observe that is if you go into everyone's house at night, and that's kind of creepy, right? The example here is opinions. If you ask someone their opinion about personal, it says personal info, but I'm going to say personal values. I mean, you can't observe someone's opinion, right? You can't observe someone's opinion. So that's when you would send out a survey, this list of questions that answered by people in the study. All of you guys have filled out a survey before because we use them all the time at school. I know that every time you guys fill out a schedule request, that's actually a survey, right? So let's talk about an observational study. The keyword observation means that it's something that you can what? Observe, yeah. So observational study is data that is gathered and used to compare groups. So data that is gathered and used to compare groups or determine generalization. I'm going to have to generalization about populations. So you compare groups or determine a generalization about a population, and it may include a survey. Okay. And then an experiment is a treatment study, where a treatment is assigned to two, or I can't get that. Yeah, two or more groups. Perfect. Thank you so much. And you're awesome. Tell her I said thank you. And the results are compared. Okay. So there's a little important note here that says the only way to determine cause and effect. This is the only way to determine cause and effect. Okay. So for example, think about like maybe you want to prove that dogs are easier to train if you give them treats after every positive behavior. So some of the dogs you like request a specific behavior, and when they do what's requested of them, you give it a treat. The other dogs you don't do anything with, right? You just keep going through that. So you have a group of dogs who get a treat, a group of dogs who get nothing. And then when you're all done with your experiment, you take the data that you get from the test and you say, hey, I proved based off my results that giving a dog a treat, some kind of treatment, and I'm not saying that treatment is treat, it could be something like preventing them to have potty breaks or whatever. Anyway, the only way to determine cause and effect is saying that you gave them, you did two survey groups or whatever, two examples, and the group that got the treats had better results on learning a trick. The only time that you have to think about experiments, there are some experimental studies that are like unethical. For example, maybe you want to say that kids perform better academically if they eat breakfast every morning. So then you're going to like hold this experiment and you're going to take this group of kids and you're going to say you can't eat in the morning. That's kind of unethical. You can't really do that. Or saying that people are more pliable or more willing to comply if you don't let them eat, right? I mean, because those are things that we do for like interrogations, right? But that's not really ethical. So just think about that. Last two things that we want to talk about are randomization and bias. In all studies, randomization in sampling will result in more accurate results, and it reduces bias. So what is bias? Well, yeah, go ahead. I'm listening. Yeah, it's when you're able to influence the results, right? So it's when your results are influenced. And it could be something, so influenced and do not represent the population. Okay. An example of that would be a response bias, questioning bias, or a sampling bias. So let's say that I'm going to survey people on, I'm going to do this survey. I'm going to conduct a survey on how people feel about the minimum wage. I'm going to conduct a survey and ask people if they feel that minimum wage is fair. However, the only people that I'm going to survey are the people that are going into the Lexus or Cadillac dealerships. How many people that you think walk into the Lexus or Cadillac dealerships are making minimum wage? None of them. So do you think they really care about whether minimum wage is fair or unfair? Yeah. So that would be an example of a sampling bias. Or maybe I want to interview people on what they think about abortion, and I'm going to stand outside the Catholic Church, right? And I'm going to ask everybody, right? Does that make sense? Those are biases. Okay. Maybe I'm going to stand at the entrance of Camp Lejeune. I'm going to talk to people about gun control. Okay. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to think about who your population is. So those are biases because you know what I mean. Does that make sense? How we kind of discuss those? Questions about that?